Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wa salamu ala rasulillah, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Today I wanted to talk about marriage, and specifically I wanted us to think about some of the reasons why many of our brothers and sisters are getting divorced. I think that if brothers changed one thing about themselves and sisters changed one thing about themselves, then a lot of these divorces could be avoided, and perhaps a lot of these marriages would be much stronger, and the relationship between these husbands and wives would be much better and have much more longevity. I want to start with the men. You know, it's no secret that men are very sexual creatures. Men, due to their sexual desires, they can make very irrational decisions. And because of this fact, Allah has implemented, or He has commanded us to implement certain laws to help safeguard us, help safeguard men and women. And unfortunately, the world we live in the West specifically, these rules and regulations are not implemented. In fact, it's quite the opposite. So it's much harder for men to contain themselves, to lower their gaze, to avoid certain situations that can lead them into bad situations. And if we think about many brothers in the West who have embraced Islam, for example, or who weren't practicing and later on they began practicing, growing up in that sort of an environment, some men were accustomed to, before Islam, just going from woman to woman, from relationship to relationship, having different women every weekend. So this has, created for some of them a certain perspective when it comes to having a relationship with a woman. And unfortunately, some people have allowed that sort of history and that sort of cultural norm to affect the way that they approach marriage. Allah has made it very easy for men and women to get married in Islam. And Allah has also made it very easy for men and women to get divorced. And that being the case, unfortunately, many brothers nowadays, they take advantage of that and they treat marriage almost as if it's dating. They treat marriage almost as if it's the same thing that they used to do when they would just jump from woman to woman. They might enter a relationship, enter a marriage, just because Allah's made it so easy, and they might not really have the mindset that I'm going to take care of this sister, I'm going to take care of my wife for the next 40, 50, 60 years through thick and thin. Even if even if her beauty fades, she gains weight, she does things here and there that annoy me, I'm going to stick it out. Divorce is not an option. Okay? Now, of course, we know that divorce is an option, but my point is that brothers should really enter a marriage thinking that divorce is like the very absolute last thing that we're going to consider. Okay? But I think many brothers, they'll enter a relationship and they'll just be like, you know what? I like this sister. She's attractive. She said she'll marry me. I can afford the dowry. So, get married. And, if in a year or two or three it doesn't work out, I'll just get a divorce. I'll find another wife. And I think that this is a horrible way to approach marriage. And I think it really is oppressive to the women, because I don't think women, when they marry these brothers, that's the way they're thinking. I think the women are thinking, oh, this brother, he loves me, he cares about me, he wants to take care of me and cherish me. And they think that it's going to be long term. They think it's going to be for the rest of their lives. So I think this is very, very problematic. I think brothers need to get that whole mentality of dating and jumping from woman to woman out of their system completely, and just really think, before you marry a sister, are you willing to spend the next 60 years of your life with her through thick and thin? because all those desires you have, all those butterflies and this and that, it fades away. So are you going to be willing to stick it out even after all those feelings fade? That's the way brothers need to approach it. And not only that, but there are even brothers who, just because Islam allows them to have up to 4 wives, they also use that as an excuse to, okay, marry one sister and then get another sister and then another sister and then another sister. Okay? And it's also, I mean, in the non-Muslim culture, they will call these sorts of women side chicks. You know, like you have your main girlfriend or wife or whoever, and then you'll have someone on the side. And it's like, it really seems like brothers will implement the same sort of ideology, but they'll use the deen in order to do so. So, okay, hey, it's easy to get married. I can have up to 4 wives. Okay, I got this wife. Okay, I'm gonna get another wife. Okay, and they just go from woman to woman, and they'll get divorced if they want to. And this is not the right mentality to have. This is not the reason why Allah made marriage easy. And there are certain conditions when you get married. Like you have to make sure you're fulfilling these things. And I feel like a lot of brothers are just really abusing the deen, and as a result they are abusing women, and there are a lot of divorces taking place, unfortunately. And I feel like men have to stop this, man. This is a serious problem. Now, as for the women, okay? Now, women have also been affected by the Western society. And I think whereas men, it's a very physical, sexual, intimate sort of thing. For women, I think it has more to do with the way they look at their husband, the way they treat their husband, and the way that they expect to be treated. You know, in the West, there is a lot of this feminism. There is this idea that men and women are equal. They're just completely equal. And this is not an Islamic approach to marriage, to men and women, okay? Men have certain rights and women have certain rights in a marriage. Now, the rights that women have are that their husband must take care of them, okay? Must provide for them. And because men have this certain responsibility, they also have a right over their wives, and that their wives are expected to listen to them, to obey them, to respect them. And I feel like a lot of women, based on, you know, these what the West has propagated through movies and Hollywood and through these different movements, that women feel like that's oppressive. They feel like for them to listen to their husband, to obey their husband, they have a real issue with that. And as a result, you'll find men will try to tell their wives to do something, they'll try to make a certain decision and expect a certain level of respect from their wives. And women are very resistant to that, generally speaking. And you'll find women yelling at their husbands, disrespecting their husbands, not listening to their husbands. And this is probably the most effective way to poison your relationship, to poison your marriage. Because women don't understand how that makes their husband feel. Okay? And I'll give you an example. When men deal with each other, they show each other a certain level of respect, because if you disrespect a man to a certain extent, there's going to be physical altercation. There's going to be possible violence, fighting, punching, okay? Shooting, stabbing. It can get crazy. So, you know, men, generally speaking, they understand that if they speak to another man a certain type of way, that there's going to be consequences. And I feel like a lot of women, a lot of wives, they don't understand this. They feel like they can speak to their husband any sort of way, and just because they know that their husband isn't going to hit them or beat them or physically hurt them, that it's not that big a deal. But the fact of the matter is that it's a very, very, very big deal. Okay, when you shout certain things at your husband, when you say certain things about him, when you criticize him in a certain type of way, you might talk about his mother, his, you know, I see all types of stuff even playing out on social media publicly. When you say those sorts of things, you might not obviously have a physical altercation, inshallah, but your husband is going to have the same amount of hatred entering his heart for you that he would a man who said that to him, who he'd be ready to punch in the face. And I think women don't understand this, because they want their men to love them, to cherish them, to be romantic to them. But it can be physically impossible for them to treat you this way when you speak to them a certain way, when you don't respect them, when you don't listen to them. Like they physically, they can't fake it. That you have hardened their heart. You have poisoned the relationship, okay? And on the flip side, here's another thing. On the flip side, if you do respect your husband, you do listen to him, you do show him that he does have a certain level of authority that you respect, that you appreciate, the opposite will happen, in that his love for you will go through the roof. A real man is going to appreciate and respect that, because that's very rare and it means a lot to a man. So, you know, those are just two things I wanted to share. I feel like if men could enter a relationship understanding that, look, you need to love and care for this woman you're about to marry for the rest of your life, through thick and thin. Even if she gets on your nerves, even if her beauty fades, whatever the case may be, you need to stick it out, okay? You need to stick it out and do your absolute best, okay? And unless something really crazy, really unforgivable happens, okay, divorce should not really be an option that you're considering. And the women, if you could try to just understand that Allah created us a certain way, Allah gave men and women certain rights, and one of the rights of your husband is that you respect and listen to him. If you can implement that, then I think it will make the relationship much stronger. It will really solve a lot of the issues, because I've seen this stuff play out over the years. I've seen it. Okay? I've seen brothers treat sisters as if it's dating and just get divorced and jump from relationship to relationship. And I've seen sisters get divorced because they didn't respect their husband, and their husband had enough, and they were like, you know what, if you're gonna, I'm not having it. I'm not having a wife who's gonna talk to me this way and disrespect me this way, you know. And it's not something that's so difficult to change about ourselves, you know. Just consciously understand this, and you know, I think inshallah it could really help a lot of our relationships. And this is the foundation of our communities. It's men and women coming together, getting married, having children, raising them together, and you know, fulfilling our desires in a halal way. Because when we get divorced, it really affects our children. It affects the women a lot more than I think men understand and appreciate. And you know, Allah surely knows best. May Allah guide us to what's best. May Allah protect our marriages, our households, and you know, guide us. Jazakumullahu khairan. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.